But I'm delighted to say we have a live guest in the studio because
have a live guest.
Yeah, a live guest as opposed to a guest who's sort of down the line from a posh hotel,
right.
who's actually slumming it in the studio here. Dexter Fletcher is the director of what I'm calling the Proclaimers musical, and everyone else is calling
Sunshine on Leith.
But that's
the title.
Yeah. But people will say, "Oh, you did the Proclaimers musical."
I suspect that's what they'll end up saying to me, and I'll say, no, it's Sunshine on Leith. Yeah. But that's what they'll say.
That was his way of saying I was right. It is called Sunshine
well,
on Leith. I don't think anyone's going to refer to the Proclaimers. They're going to call
because
it Sunshine
it's
on
not
Leith.
about the Proclaimers. That is completely misleading.
Okay, so
despite their fantastic 5-second cameo as the blokes coming out of the pub,
and
your cameo
that's
the bloke coming out of the pub.
Yeah, there's lots of blokes coming out of pubs in this film.
Yes, we should say. I know we haven't explained the story or anything about it, but there is a moment quite early on where Craig and Charlie walk out of a pub, and I think they look sort of awkward. In fact, they're the worst actors in the movie, I would say, probably. And it's
it's
their
tell
film.
them that personally.
No, I would.
I've gone for a different.
I absolutely would. No, it's a very funny thing. So explain, Dexter, how you got involved in this, because this was there was a play. It was a stage production. Originally.
They Dundee Rep about 2007 after the writer Stephen Greenhorn one boozy night, sort of sitting around thinking he needed to write a Scottish musical, had Sunshine on Leith, the Proclaimers' second album by all accounts, on, and sort of was listening to the stories being told through those songs, and said, this is it. If I want a Scottish musical, this is the way to go. So he then got in contact with the guys. I don't know how he did that. But then, through his work with Dundee Rep, they worked up the show over sort of the space of a year, and put it on sort of 3 years in a row, each time with bigger and bigger and more success in Scotland, in Edinburgh, and Dundee, and Glasgow. And eventually, some very canny film producers saw it and said, "This is going to make a lovely little film."
Did you see it on stage?
I didn't see it on stage. No, I got the call from DNA, and they said,
"This is the production company, DNA."
Yeah. And they said, it's it's a musical, Proclaimers. It's not about the boys. It's not about them. It has been done as a stage show. So the first thing I did was Google the reviews of the stage show before I even got the script, and thought, okay, this is obviously good because the reviews are sort of 4 and 5 star reviews. So then, I got the script, and that was but that was maybe the beginning of last year that I got that call.
So the correct term for this is a jukebox musical.
Yeah, that's a new term to me, but I mean, it is,
They kind of work in as much as they're not original songs. Here are songs from an artist's back catalogue.
Sure.
As in Mamma Mia, where we've put them together, and we've worked out the songs that we can put in to tell the story.
Yeah, the songs are not written for the show.
I think a good way of explaining it is comparing it to Mamma Mia, in as much as it's that thing about each of the ABBA songs has a narrative, and what the overarching narrative is somehow managed to. So in the case of ABBA, there's a song about I'm not sure who my father is, and there's a song about I've got to decide between this, and so and then the skill is in managing to put those things together.
Yes,
and actually part of the joy of what has actually become an emergent genre is how are they going to work there? Because if you can start to go, someone's going to have to send back a letter from America.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to go away and walk 500 miles, and somebody's got to be called Gene. These are kind of the beginning parameters. And how are you going to work around that?
And as soon as Jane Horrocks' character comes on and says, "Oh, this is Gene," you go, "Well,
there we go."
It's only a matter of time before we get this. So, and explain. We'll play a clip in just a moment.
Yeah.
Had you done a musical? Had you produced, directed, been involved with a musical before?
Well, in my capacity as an actor, I'd certainly touched on it, but it was all a long time ago, 30 odd years ago. I mean, obviously, Bugsy.
Because you're 68, aren't you?
I am 68. Yeah. I'm a surprisingly fresh-looking 68.
So, the demands of making a musical like this. Just explain some of the more difficult areas that you had to touch, which you wouldn't have done, say, for Wild Bill.
Well, okay. I mean, certainly the jumping off point for me was, how do I make this musical be palatable to me and the people that I hope would enjoy this film? So that, I mean, I know that musicals can turn people off quite easily because they sort of have this cheesy glow around them, or tend to. It's like Mamma Mia, as an example, has everybody on the same emotional band very quickly, whether they're involved in the centre storyline or not, and that's, to me, is the big problem of musicals. It was something that I wanted to look at anyway. Something that something like, for example, Cabaret doesn't do, but that's a kind of hybrid, because those songs happen in the club. But if you look at something like Mamma Mia, if somebody's happy to be home, everybody's happy to be home, and that to me doesn't ring true, and we start to lose the emotional connection with those characters.
Okay.
So for me, it was about tackling how do we get in and out of these songs, make them feel like they're part of our narrative, part of our story. They're the voice of our characters, and not at the same time completely alienate the audience and make them suddenly feel like, well, why is everybody bursting into song, or why do I feel uncomfortable with that?
So, what is the story?
It's a family story about a couple of lads who come back home from Afghanistan. So it already sounds rather bleak, but it is, and they've had their tough time, but they're trying to find their place in the world again, and that's back home in Leith, which is where the songs and the family are centred. And so it's really about those guys and how they try to find their way back home and into the life that they've left behind, and how they want to reassimilate themselves with that world. But of course, everything's different, everything's changed, and certainly when people fall in love, that has a huge impact, and when people's have moved on from where they were before you went away, that changes. So it's really about how these guys are trying to find their way back into a world that feels more secure and comfortable to them.
Okay, we're going to play a clip in just a moment, which is the pub scene, which is over and done with. Can you explain? So what's happening tell us where we are in the story, and just explain what's happening while you're filming it. Are you listening to the track? Is there miming? Is it being sung live? What's the deal?
Well, there's no miming. They certainly can't sing live because how they did it on Les Mis, which is where they've done it magically, and money and resources are obviously far greater than I had. They never have done it like that before. Right. I don't know if they've done it like that again. Anyway, no, but the actors sing along with the track so that there's some sort of physical investment in what they're doing, and we can drop the track out. We can, take the vocals out, or just leave the music playing if that's going to suit our purposes. But generally, they've gone and recorded it, and they're singing along with it. And we can use either one of those.
And your main guys, Davey and Ali, the main characters.
Davey and Ali. Yeah,
they're good singers.
They are great singers. Yeah, George Mackay, Kevin Guthrie, a couple of young actors. We got a great casting director, Nina Gold. She got us in some.
So where are we in the story then?
Sorry, yes.
I mean, the clip that we're going to play is the cast singing over and done with.
This is the cast singing over and done with, and they're just home. It's their first night home, and one of them's going on a blind date, and one of them's going out with the girl who he loves, who happens to be his best mate's sister.
And people are variously getting up on pub tables.
Yeah,
of course,
it's a pub in Scotland.
Yeah, exactly,
like they do. Some music breaks out.
This is the story of our first teacher. Shetland made her jumpers, and the devil made her features. Threw up her hand when our mom said our name.
You've never seen her do this.
Embroidered all her stories with slanderous grace. It's over and done with. Getting much over and done with. It's 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 over and done with. Right, you. Come on, you. I'll see the story.
A nice one it was.
This is the story of losing my virginity. I left my breath and the bed held a trinity. People are making no claims to no mystery, but sometimes I feel like my sex life's all history. It's over and done with. It's over and done with. It's over and done with. It's over and done with.
And they're all joining in. And it's about this time you're thinking, I bet one of the relationships goes quite well, and then someone wants to sing "Let's Get Married" because that's another song. But that is part of the charm, as Mark said, isn't it? Is that you're going to go? You're trying to work out the songs that are going to be
trajectory,
and how they have to be included.
This was the wonderful thing about when I read the script, though, is that they'd done such a great job of it at Dundee Rep. They'd spent their time doing it, and this show, was built over the course of 6 years and 3 or 4 very successful runs. So by the time I got the screenplay, It was already, the structure was very strong, and it didn't feel like these jukebox musical songs were shoehorned in. That it was a fairly seamless transition, and it made sense. And sometimes they do kind of catch you out, and in terms of how they're going to be used. So it was in great shape. And in fact, at one point there was a song called On My Way, which I was struggling with, I won't lie, and I was like, we should cut this number. I think that maybe this, do we need it? They're home, they're happy, we get it. So we took it out, and for a long time in the pre-production, and then the word came through from somebody very high up and said, I like that song, I want it in there. So I was like, oh man. So then I had to go back, and of course we put it in, we made it work, and it was difficult because we had 12 songs to shoot in 6 weeks. That's 2 a week. Just getting that done in itself it was a feat. But anyway, so we subsequently shot that, and I went back, and of course we get it in the edit, and I sat there and think, thank God we had that song. Thank God it's there, because actually structurally what it's doing, it's a massive shortcut in terms of telling the story. And it's just about. For me, it was about realising, it wasn't chucking out the baby with the bathwater, really. And that's the song where the Proclaimers appear, and the whole mood of the film, hopefully.
I'm on my way from misery to happiness today.
Exactly. There you go. And so, that's what I'm saying, I suppose, is the structure was always really strong.
And just a word finally, Dexter, about the finale. I think we can talk about finales. I don't think there's no spoilers involved here. But it's a triumphant moment, I think, because it's a huge uplifting, all singing, all dancing. Every single person who lives in Edinburgh is involved, it seems. But also you've made it feels contemporary, because it feels like a flash mob. It feels as though you had the bare bones of it, and then everyone else joined in. I know they all know how to just explain a little bit about how you did that final 5-10 minutes.
Well, it was that I knew that it really had to break out and sing, literally, at that point. And what I'd done, I'd set all these rules for the songs in the build-up to that. All the other songs don't really play in that way. And even with the colour palette that we use and certain shots and how we constructed the rest of the film, and really what we were pushing for to keep it as real as possible, the whole film, so it felt like this is a real world and real characters, I broke all of those rules at the end that I'd kind of set, and that means that people engage with the camera, and all those people that I was saying are not on the same emotional band all suddenly were, and that's how it feels to me, how it really kind of works. And sure enough, we had the local people of Edinburgh wander by and see what we were doing, because we're in a very public space, we can't close it off. And then some of them joined in, and others just stood around and watched and called their mates and said, there's this insane thing going on down there. And we started with a little corps of dancers, and then we sort of built them into the crowd, and then the extras would start to learn the dance throughout the course of the day. And it grew and became. And when you watch it back, you're going to see there's 5 guys who don't know what they're doing. They're all over the place, and there's another bloke standing there on his phone, probably.
There is in one of the very end shots as they're coming out. There's lines of people doing choreography. There is somebody wearing a purple jumper who is not doing the hokey cokey in the way that the rest of them are. But it adds to the charm of it.
It does.
They do look like they have just wandered in. Which
we'll talk just a few more minutes with Dexter Fletcher in just a moment. 11 minutes to 3 o'clock. This from Martin, who says, I saw Sunshine on Leith at a TIFF screening. Unfortunately, not the one that the Proclaimers and cast attended. Full house, really enjoyed the film. Lots of expats that clearly enjoyed the brief anti-English jokes. Although there are anti-English,
not that brief.
There are quite a few. There are quite a few anti-Glasgow comments as well. So it is very, very specific. Everyone left the cinema lighter than when they went in and singing. I realised that I knew far more Proclaimers songs than I thought, which I suspect would be what a number of people might think.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I mean, a couple of them took me by surprise. I was like, I do know that. I mean, On My Way I didn't know that I knew it as
From
well
Misery
as
to Happiness Today.
Exactly. I should try and get some more quotes in, see if you can, some other titles perhaps.
Yeah, I do know quite a few. It has to be said. Yeah.
And Simon, of course, championed the Proclaimers on Radio 1.
In 1986.
This was, as he's told us all,
well,
at
that
great
must have
length.
made their heart fly. That was very kind of you.
Well, it's a terrific, very good. Five extra points there. But that's a great track. And we need to mention Peter Mullen.
Or Tom Waits, as you like to call
him.
him.
He sings like Tom Waits.
That's what he said to me. He said, I'm going to growl the whole thing. I'd be like Tom Waits. It'd be great.
Is he Irish?
Yeah. So when I do him, he is. Welsh. He's Welsh.
Absolutely nothing like Peter Mullen.
Thanks.
But you think I did spend like the first 20, minutes, half an hour, however long it is before he sings,
Waiting
thinking, what's he going to sound like? I've never heard him sing ever. And then it's Tom Waits.
It is, and that's what he, like I say, that's what he spoke to me about when we talked. And he said that he had a bootleg of their songs 30 years ago. Him and his mates in Glasgow would sit around and listen to it. So he's a fairly die-hard Proclaimers fan as well. So I think for him the whole idea was really exciting.
I mean, I have really clear memories of being in Manchester in the 1980s, listening to Sunshine on Leith with a friend of mine, Ollie Fox, sitting in his flat, just listening to all those songs. Then being in City Life when they would quote Proclaimers lyrics to each other. And some months ago, I was in the streets of Soho walking to a screening, and Dexter went by on his bike, looking for all the world like Wurzel Gummidge on a bike. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm just finished." You did.
Yeah,
God bless you.
Yeah, my head's quite big.
And I said, what are you doing? He said, I've just been doing this Proclaimers musical. I went, oh, that's great, because I love the Proclaimers and I'm a fan of Dexter's anyway. And I thought, it's going to be terrible, because actually these things that I love, I saw it last night in the Delane Lee, which is lovely shit. I wept like a child. I sat there I beamed all the way through. I mean, there are things in the kind of connection of the stories that I think, Tad Bay something. I swear to you, I just sat there smiling my head off, and I cried on 3 separate occasions. And when they did Sunshine on Leith, and it's hard to kind of to separate what the film's doing and what, because these things are all tied up. But I promise you, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, I was literally, because somebody's sitting behind me, and I thought they're going to be tweeting. I was sitting behind Mark Kermode, and he was having an attack because I was shaking. I was doing proper.
Pathetic.
What you're saying is making me want to cry. Mark.
He cries in everything, Dexter. So it's not.
Oh right.
No,
okay,
I don't cry.
cry.
I don't cry in everything.
No,
I don't cry in everything. He's just he's cynical. But I did that exactly. And then afterwards, when I came out, they were doing filming people's responses. I never had anything to do with it. But people were saying, "Oh, I really loved it," and it put a spring in my step. I smiled and cried plentifully, and I want to go back and see it again.
Wow!
Did Craig and Charlie have anything?
I'll go with you. That'd be great.
Did they? I mean, clearly they're on set because they do this walk out the pub moment. But did they have any comments? Did they say, "Can you do a bit like that, a little less like that"? I think you got the feeling wrong.
They were really cool because I think they'd been with it so long, the theatre production, and they very generously said apparently in the beginning, look, we know about writing songs, but we don't know about writing musicals or creating stage shows or making films, so you got carte blanche to do what you need to do, which is very trusting and incredibly generous of them. So no, but they would turn up on the set, and then there was a time when they turned up on the set and they listened to Antonia Thomas sing the beginning of 500 Miles, which is completely different from how you've normally heard it. Very beautiful voice, and Charlie turned to Craig and went, "See, I told you women could sing our songs." Because then, Craig had a tear in his eye, and it was like this moment because it's their 30 life work.
And it never occurred to me, of course, but when you see the movie, so many of the songs actually sound like dialogue, and because there are 2 of them,
exactly.
Suddenly these songs actually work when sung by 2 people. Dexter, it's been fantastic having you on the show.
Before we kick back, can I just get one thing since you're here? Because I never get the chance to do this one. Dream of the Mad Monkey. Nobody
Hang
other
on.
than
Okay,
this is by Fernando Trueba, but it's way back from the 1980s. As far as I can tell, 3 people in the world saw it. Me, Nigel Floyd, and Tom Charity. It's a really strange, twisted version of the Peter Pan story, essentially, with Dexter and Jeff Goldblum, and it was released in America under some hideous title.
What was it called out there?
It was called Twisted Obsession.
Twisted
Over
Obsession.
here, it was called Dream of the Mad
Twist-
Monkey. And
yeah,
it's a very, very strange film because Fernando has subsequently gone on to become, an Oscar winner and all the rest of it. And do you have any residual? You're sort of wincing about that film.
I know
it got a terrible critical.
It didn't. No. It was a great experience. It was. I was out there in Madrid. It's like 20 years ago or something. And it was in a particular period. It was a little bit hazy for me, and that's why I'm wishing I got my own kind of I wish I had a better grasp of what was going on, because I was out there. I was like, Madrid, let's go crazy. But I know it's kind of wonderful, fantastic, crazy film.
He's really strange. I met Jeff Goldblum once, and we were still talking about it, and I said, Dream the Man. He said, God, I haven't seen that film in ages. He said, is it any good? And I went, it's really, really peculiar and strange. He said, I must go back and watch it again.
I don't think I've actually even seen it.
You should have a look. You should have a look. It is. I mean, it's odd.
So you haven't seen. So there are
exactly when I said 3 people in the world. Sorry, me, Nigel Floyd, and Tom Charity. Yeah.
Are there many films that you were in that you haven't seen? It just seems like an amazing thing to happen.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, I mean, sometimes it's a long time after the event, and they sort of somehow maybe pass you by. Yeah, I don't think I've seen Doom either. but there's some I suppose,
Movies
I
I've been in
suspect
that I've never
not
watched.
seen,
Oh, I'm sure, but there are, there are.
I mean, maybe I saw that, but it's 20 years old. That film,
sure.
isn't it? It's 20 years
Well,
old.
just
Not more.
but Fernando Trueba did turn out to be then, a world acclaimed
Yeah.
director. He made the beautiful Chico and Rita, which was wonderful.
Right, okay.
And he won the Oscar for Belle Epoque, and so
I think he'd done Belle Epoque before.
no,
No,
nope.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't remember, do you?
No,
No,
I don't
really,
remember.
it
There you
was.
go.
Dexter, just go with it. You
I am-
learn after a while. If Mark says something, you just kind of.
Yeah. No, I
Roll
quickly
with
picked
it.
that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely knows.
So have you renounced the acting completely? Are you going to stay the other side of the camera? What are you thinking?
No, I've not renounced it. No, I mean, if someone comes along and offers me a really tasty part and something really exciting to do, I would of course do that. But what it's done, the directing is it's opened a lot of interesting doors for me. And after 40 years of acting, it means that maybe I've got some interesting opportunities that I really, really, enjoying exploring and kind of enjoying this, new chapter, as it were.
Well, next week on this program, we're going to be launching a short film competition.
Yeah.
It's called The Well Done You.
Well done, you.
Well
that
done,
kind
you.
of slightly patronising,
Well
but also
done, yeah.
you certificate. That's the
okay,
point.
I see. Well done, you.
Well
But
done, you.
I just bring that up to tell you that you're not allowed to take part because it's
He's
for
a
people-
professional filmmaker.
You're a professional filmmaker.
Okay. Could I not go under my other hat then as an actor? Does that not? I mean,
That is a
you know,
filmmaker. An
that-
actor
that
is
is,
a
yeah, I suppose it
Actually,
would,
we
yeah.
haven't clarified that, but yeah, I think if you're a professional.
What's the criteria? When can you and when can't you enter then?
Well, you can't enter yet because we haven't announced it.
Oh right. What
It's
did
like
you
a
just do?
preview.
Didn't you just
Yeah.
do
Well,
that?
we're going to announce it next week.
Oh right.
But I
I'll
was just
listen
mentioning
out.
it now just to say that when you hear
He's
about
teasing.
it,
He's teasing ahead.
it'll
Dexter
be,
now has a look of slight panic in his eyes that the program is taking a turn
we
for
could,
the strange.
We could do a celebrity. We
I
could
mean-
do a celebrity version.
Celebrity version.
Celebrity
that's good.
version.
A celebrity
There you
version. So if you want to make a 2-minute film
Yeah.
for free,
Yeah.
Go, listen, we can use it as trial.
On your
Just say, I'm Dexter Fletcher. Well done, you.
I'm Dexter Fletcher. Well done, you.
there you go.
There we go.
You
We
see,
didn't even pay
that
him.
was top
We didn't
production.
even pay him.
Dexter, thank you very much indeed. The movie comes out next week.
Yep, on the 4th of October.
The movie being Sunshine on Leith,
Sunshine on Leith.
aka
The Proclaimers
Proclaimers musical. Dexter Fletcher, thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Simon.
Lee, for coming in.
Thanks,
sir.
Mark.